So, the story consists of Paul Atreides, a young man that is experiencing visions of a terrible future, whilst also being caught in the middle of a war spanning across the entire galaxy to control the most valuable substance. This is my uneducated opinion on the movie Dune. Or is it Dune? Or is it Dunk? Or is it, like my girlfriend says, Dunny? Anyway, here we go. So this movie was based upon a novel that was adapted previously, and it was deemed to be completely unfilmable. And in many ways you can see why, because this movie gives so much information and is filled to the brim with so much incredible lore and storytelling that it is just a lot to take in. This movie is a lot. It's a lot of movie. You can understand why a few people who go into this movie watching it for the first time might find it a little bit overwhelming with the amount of information that is just chucked at you. But I feel as though at a certain point it does start to get a little bit more streamlined and things start connecting together very well, and it becomes much easier to follow. I've never read the books, so I have no idea what the differences are, and I don't know if there is any things in the movie that it doesn't include some material from the books, or if they've gotten some things wrong or translated it completely differently from what people are expecting. What I really love about this movie is the setup. It goes into big detail about the world building and how Arrakis is this planet with spice, and spice being the substance that is the most valuable thing in the entire universe. The health and medical properties of the substance is used by the inhabitants. It there goes into details about how every other organizations and different planets want to use spice so that they can do interdimensional travel, and it sets up perfectly what each side and each family is going to be fighting over. Another world building or ability that they introduced fairly early on in the movie, which I really liked how it was used, is this mind control thing that the Atreides family use called the Voice.
You dismissed my mother in her own house.
Come here. Kneel.
It is really effective whenever they portray it on the screen because it gives this disorientated, creepy turn of events, and it makes you feel really vulnerable whenever you start watching it happen. It feels very intrusive. The cast is absolutely massive and filled to the brim with big name actors, which includes the likes of Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Zendaya, Charlotte Rampling, Jason Momoa, and Javier Bardem. Of the cast that I have just mentioned, there's a couple of them that I just wanted to go in depth a little bit more to talk about how incredible that they were. And Rebecca Ferguson being the absolute standout in my opinion, I think she gives an incredible performance. She gives this very protective nature towards Atreides, being both strict in his teachings and also a vulnerable side to the character when it comes to moments in the movie where she is not going to be able to help in any way. Jason Momoa, just like in everything else he's done, he is incredibly charismatic, probably the most likable character in this movie. He is a very good gateway into learning about the traditions and the livelihoods of the inhabitants of the planet Arrakis, and it makes the exposition that he gives very easy to digest. He has this weird thing though when he is first introduced that he loves to just pat Atreides on the side or on the back or on the ass every 15 seconds, and it makes me start thinking that if you were to take a shot every time that he did it, you'd probably end up in a coma.
Since that's why you want to come with me. Listen, because that's when we make things happen.
I absolutely adore Stellan Skarsgård as an actor. He has such a distinctive voice that goes perfectly with him playing a really intimidating villain. He's also been in the likes of Good Will Hunting, Pirates of the Caribbean movies, has been in many Marvel movies, he's been in Andor and Chernobyl. It's almost as if anything that he is in, it's almost guaranteed that I'm going to end up loving. Shit, that means I have to watch Mamma Mia. Paul Atreides is a character I feel is a little bit hard to get invested in this movie because I feel it's not because that Timothée Chalamet is a terrible actor. He is obviously incredible and he's actually terrific in the role. I feel as though it only comes to a point maybe halfway through the movie when the character starts getting a lot more responsibilities and you start seeing the weight on his shoulders where the character really comes into his own and you start getting invested around that point. There was unfortunately a little bit of confusion that I had in regards to the force field technology that they introduce at the start when you see them training. They go into really good detail and describe it really well of it stopping the quick blows on the battlefield, but then the slow attacks start penetrating the defenses of it. It's very well done, and I was really invested in how they done that. However, there are certain points at the movie where it does kind of throw that out of the window and it seems really pointless. There are moments where battle's happening and you see loads of people doing really quick blows and it's still penetrating the defenses. It kind of made them really redundant and useless. Like I've mentioned before in previous videos, an easy way to grab my attention in movies is with the visuals, and lo and behold, the visuals in this movie has got to be one of the best in movie history. It is stunning. Who'd have thought you can make sand look good? I'm sorry, Anakin. It does look coarse and rough, but look at the orange. It's beautiful. This movie reminds me a lot of the likes of Rogue One, with its incredible sense of scale, where you have the sandworms coming out and you have the different ships hiding in behind the different planets. It is breathtaking. That scene with the structure coming out of the water perfectly captures one of my biggest fears, and that is with a huge object or creature being in the darkness under the depths and just not being able to see it. Knowing something is that big and just swallow you up at any time, it probably is linked to heights, because I have a massive fear of that as well. But that, whenever you have anything like that of a big creature just coming out in the middle of the ocean, nah, I'm out. No wonder this movie looks absolutely stunning, because it was made with the cinematographer Greg Fraser, who has an incredible track record. He has made the likes of Zero Dark 30, Lion, Rogue One, Vice, Dune, The Batman, The Creator, and Dune Part 2, and also The Mandalorian. All of them are stunning movies. And we can't really forget to talk about the music and the score, which is astonishingly good. It is done by the incredible Hans Zimmer, who just seems to do no wrong. He includes a lot of my favourite instruments, which includes the bagpipes. And just like this and other scenes, the music fits perfectly with the scale of events that are happening throughout the movie. One of the most important aspects of any movie for me has got to be the pacing. I can get very easily distracted and bored very quickly when I'm not properly engaged with any sort of media, but this movie does pacing so perfectly well. It was a shock to me that when the movie finished, I only thought an hour and a half had passed, but this movie allegedly has a runtime of about 2.5 hours. It's because every single detail in this movie seems to be well thought out and actually has a purpose. Even if there is so much information getting thrown at the screen, there's stuff that isn't explained I personally don't feel frustrated in getting confused about. I could brush all of that aside. I think this movie achieves so much of what a lot of modern day franchises are desperately trying to replicate. You have the likes of modern day Star Wars, and from what I hear, Rebel Moon, they are desperate in trying to become the next sci-fi adventure that everyone is going to be obsessing over. But the difference is, this movie, its characters are all fleshed out, the world building is phenomenal, and its rich storytelling is understandable to think that it could never have worked. Denis Villeneuve is one of the greatest directors working today, and looking back on his track record, you can definitely tell why he was able to be the genius to finally make the unfilmable novel into one of the best sci-fi movies to come out in recent history. He has done the likes of Prisoners, Sicario, Arrival, and Blade Runner 2049. The only one of those that I have watched previously is Blade Runner 2049, and in my honest opinion, I actually much preferred that version to the original that Ridley Scott done. I don't understand how a lot of movies that he has made recently has been deemed financial failures, and considering there's been so much talk about cinema dying, this is the sort of movie that Hollywood needs to be producing. And the more people watch these movies, the more different stories will be allowed to be told with their unique visions. So, just like with any other Uneducated Opinion video, let's watch the trailer to see how good it is and if it holds up today and if it gives away much about what happens in the movie itself. Let's give it a watch. Okay, that was actually a really good trailer. Really, really good. It showcases a lot of the best things about it. The music, the looks, the acting, and it gives a lot of intrigue about what the story is going to be about. Doesn't give too much away. I will say, though, that the movie showcases a lot of Zendaya, who, spoilers, brief spoilers if you have not watched this movie yet, she's not in the movie actually that much at all. She's in it towards the end and just a few flashback sequences, but that's it. So maybe selling a little bit too much of the fact that Zendaya's in this, but hey, whatever, you gotta sell the movie, I guess. Can we also talk about how the movie poster is actually fucking terrible? I'm sorry, but I don't understand what it is with modern movies and just having posters slapped on the wall and it's just being a bunch of floating heads. Like, that won't intrigue me at all if I had never seen this movie before. And I don't know. I'm sure there's loads of other like posters that they could have used for the official one, but the official one, that is not it, I'm afraid. So the budget of this movie was about 165 million, which, to be honest, that's not a lot considering this is a big Hollywood blockbuster, and around that time also you had other huge Hollywood blockbusters that looked like absolute dog shit, let's be honest. This movie in total grossed at the box office approximately $431 million, which, to be honest, I think if you take the rule about doubling the movie's budget, that is essentially how much it costs in regards to marketing, which I think it can be said with this movie because it was heavily marketed at that time when it came out. So I do believe it may have just made its money back. It wasn't a huge success, like I mentioned earlier. I don't think it was deemed a financial success, more so a failure, considering what they were hoping to do with it. And even at the end of the movie, they ended up giving away that a part 2 was going to be happening, but I don't think they even greenlit it at that point. It was a very, very weird time to be around in reference to where this franchise was going to be going. So I think that's about it. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. Comment down below what I could do better for next time. If there's any constructive criticism you want to give. Also, what did you think about the movie Dune, or Dunk, or Dunny, or June? I don't even know anymore. Subscribe, ding the notification bell, do that sort of jazz. You can follow me on twitch.tv/Rizikins, where I'm going to be streaming more games, mainly with my girlfriend Jem and my good friend Rezzy. Sometimes I play single player games as well, going through Red Dead 2. Share around with your friends and family if you think they'll enjoy this. And yeah, that's about it. I will see you next time for another Uneducated Opinion video. Thank you, take care, see ya! It includes the likes of Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet. What a name.